Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. On this channel, I often go over right to repair, but also as a repair shop owner, a lot of the issues that affect people that have small businesses like myself. And over the past few years, I've been going over this fuckery that's been going on in the credit card processing world, whereby more and more large processors are no longer refunding the credit card processing fee when it is that you refund a customer. So I typically pay around 2 to 2.1%, and if I were a smaller merchant that could negotiate a better rate and I was using something like PayPal or Stripe, I'd be paying 2.9% fee plus 30 cents each time you purchase something from me. So let's say that you purchased a $1,000 product from me and you call me up 20 seconds later and say, Louis, I'm so sorry, I made a big mistake. I used to be able to refund you the $1,000 and I would lose the 30 cents, but I'd get to keep the $29. Okay, whatever. I lost 30 cents, cost of doing business. It is what it is. The $29, that's a more hefty fee, and it would really suck if I had to actually eat that when a customer called me and asked for a refund on something. And as a result of what PayPal did in 2019, they are keeping the 2.9% fee when you actually refund the customer, meaning that if you call me and say, hey, Louis, I'm so sorry, I bought the wrong thing. Can you give me a refund before I ship it? I now have to eat the $29 fee or pass it on to you. And this scales. If you made a purchase of $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, it just scales and scales and scales as if in 2023 it actually costs more money, more CPU processing time to refund a larger transaction than a smaller one. And this is something that I protested and said is obvious bullshit. I still use PayPal for a small amount of my business, but I went from using it for 100% of my business to using it for less than 3% of my business because of this. And I've talked about how many other providers have started to follow suit. Same thing with Apple and repairability. Once Apple gets away with doing something anti-repair, everybody tends to follow suit when they realize they can make more money. And Square started doing the same thing. I select here, 6 days left to dump Square before they start screwing small businesses. Now, this seems to be accelerating in the credit card processing world, and I'd like to discuss what's going on with Stripe. This is an email that a Stripe customer received recently. Hello, we're letting you know about Stripe's pricing changes starting October 15th, 2023. Now, when you scroll down, the one that is really offensive to me is disputes. Whether you win or lose a dispute, Stripe incurs a fee. To cover these costs from October 15th, Stripe will no longer return the $25 for a successfully contested dispute. The dispute fee itself is not changing. So what do they mean by that? On your credit card, you have an 800 number on the back of it. And if you wish to dispute a transaction or file what's called a chargeback because you received bad service, you can call that number and file a dispute. Let's say you go to a restaurant and there were bugs all over your food, or the waitress called you the C word. Let's say that you pay for a repair service at my shop and it doesn't work. You're allowed to file a dispute. And as a result of the internet and technology evolving, it's much easier to file a dispute. Back in the day, you would have to call the 800 number on the back of your card and spend 45 minutes to 2 hours on the phone with somebody who didn't speak English that damn near made you want to pull your hair out, to the point where you didn't even care if you lost $100, you just don't want to wait on hold anymore. Now that the interface has evolved a lot, it's very easy to file a dispute. You go to your bank's website, you do 2 or 3 clicks, and you can file a dispute. The problem here is if the small business has to pay regardless of whether they win the dispute, this is a great way to incentivize people to hate fuck a small business that they may not like or that may have gotten a lot of press. Imagine, if you will, a business that sells trinkets for $3 to $5 a piece. You buy a bunch of these trinkets for $3 to $5 a piece, and you file a dispute on each one. You don't win because it's a bogus dispute. You just type LOL into the dispute, or Rafflecopter as your reason for the dispute, and the dispute has been followed. The merchant still has to pay $25 as a result of you filing a garbage dispute. Imagine selling a product that costs $5 and then you receive a chargeback with nothing but the word Rafflecopter in it. Like literally just Rafflecopter. Swung, swung, swung. And now you're out $20 just because of that, and having no means or recourse against it. It is infuriating, and it's absolutely disgusting that this is the point that we're at, where companies, again, look at PayPal, look at any of the companies doing credit card processing, look at their net profit over the last 5 years on their 10K and 10Q, are making more money and finding new and creative ways to nickel and dime small business owners that are already drowning. Absolute scumbaggery at the highest order. I get disputes. Sometimes they are legitimate grievances that a customer had and we work it out. A lot of the times it's just frivolous bullshit. And especially since the rise of the YouTube channel, the company, again, having almost 2 million subscribers here, there's going to be like 0.00001% that say, oh, he has an online store, let's screw with him. It is what it is. It is what it is. It is a cost of doing business. And I win most of those disputes. The problem is if you have a merchant services system that charges you regardless of whether you win. opening yourself up to a system where you can be billed even if somebody else files a fraudulent dispute on you that makes no sense whatsoever, in my opinion, is bullshit. Now, Stripe admittedly is trying to do the right thing here a little bit. I'm going to say halfway, in that they are saying that we incur the fee regardless of whether you win or lose. We are now passing it on to you. And this is something that Eli, the computer guy, used to talk about in a lot of his older videos. He would say, if you tell the customer what is wrong within one day, they will hate Dell, they will hate their kid that spilled liquid on the Dell, they will hate their insurance company that doesn't cover it, but they won't hate you. Whereas if it takes you 1 to 2 weeks to give that customer an estimate on what is wrong with their Dell, they will not hate Dell. They will not hate their nephew that spilled water on it. They will hate you. And here, they're at least trying to name and shame who is responsible so that you don't hate Stripe. And I think that they need to go one step further here. As I've mentioned in numerous videos, this nickel and diming did not used to exist, and I find it very difficult to believe that it costs more money to handle transactions now than it did 20 years ago. Yes, we have the fact that there are more compliance things and there's more people probably trying to hack into this stuff than there were 20 years ago, but you are also getting a percentage fee of all these transactions, and something tells me that the transaction values have been going up with time, not down, now that there's more e-commerce, more people buying stuff online, and above all, the cost of the data centers, the cost of the compute power to process one of these transactions is considerably cheaper now than it was back when you were dealing with a Pentium 2. I would like to know who exactly is responsible for the nickel and diming. Name and shame. Which companies are the companies? Which are the specific companies that are causing this to occur? And require them to come up with a reason. Tell them, hey, we're passing this fee on to you because these people are charging us. Go to them and ask them why it is that you have to pay this now. For instance, with my customers, I have customers that will become angry with me sometimes, and they'll come into my store and say, like, why can't you fix this? Why is this a no fix? And I'll tell them, I would love to fix your device. All I need is this chip. And Apple goes out of their way to tell Texas Instruments and Intersil not to sell me this chip. I want to buy this, but even if I become authorized by Apple, I can't buy it. That is why we are fighting for something called right to repair. That is why we are pushing for legislation in these states. I would like to take your money. I would like nothing more than to take your money to replace this chip and get your data back so that you're happy and I can continue to pay my rent and my employees and everything else. Unfortunately, I can't because this is the system. So that at the very least, again, instead of hating me, they hate the person that is actually responsible and accountable for why they're getting the treatment that they're getting at my particular business. And I think this is something that more of these credit card companies are going to need to do. Because again, Stripe is starting to do that here. They're saying, whether you win or lose, we have to pay a fee. I don't know how much you trust them on that. They were one of the first credit card processors to not refund the 2.9% fee when it is that you refund a customer. I think they were even before PayPal on that, so I don't really know how much I like them in that regard. I don't know how much I trust them in that regard. But regardless of that, I think it is important to act, just straight up name and shame. Point them out. Say, hey, by the way, this is specific to Visa and this is their justification. Or this is specific to Interac and this is their justification. This is specific to this one bank that has a monopoly on this little section of the industry or whatever, and they decided to just start ripping us all off. I think that is going to be important to do going forward because at some point, small businesses are going to get sick and tired of this. Sometimes people will comment in my comment section and say, Louis, all this channel does is you talking about being pissed off when people are trying to screw over small business. Yes, since literally day one, that has been the content of my channel. If you click on my username, YouTube has brought back the feature where you can arrange videos by oldest to newest. And if you go to oldest, you will see that my first video that did very well is literally over 10 years old. Resellerratings.com extortion scam, how it works. I am sick and tired of being nickel and dimed. I am sick and tired of large companies that try to nickel and dime small businesses that don't really have a choice to go elsewhere because of market conditions at that point in time, and I will point them out whenever I can. And one of the things that I think is very important is that A, we stick together as business owners to point out when we are getting nickel and dimed. B, we name and shame who is responsible or accountable. And C, if the people that are being named and shamed, like Stripe, are only a middleman for the person who's actually doing the nickel and diming, that Stripe name and shame the middleman that's doing it, because it's clearly a pattern at this point. PayPal is bending people over. Square is bending people over. Stripe is bending people over. And maybe it's just a case of all of these companies decided to pad their profit margins at the exact same time. And clearly, if you look at PayPal, again, I made the argument in the videos that were after this video, PayPal has been making more and more net profit year after year. Hundreds of millions more in net profit year after year. They were not bleeding money when they made this decision. I think it is really important to... for them to convince us that it's not them just deciding to all get together and be greedy, but rather somebody else that's actually increasing the fees. And if it is all of them that are deciding to, you know what, we just want more money, Stripe just wants more money because they see Square going for more money, Square wants more money because they see PayPal going for more money, then it's on us to use somebody else. Yeah, 99% of my payment processing gets done by Payment Tech with Chase. They're horrible. I'm just going to be honest. They're horrible. Their online interface is absolute, utter, gutter trash. I had to spend 4 hours on the phone with them to get them to add my online merchant services account to there. And when I deal with chargebacks, I literally cannot respond to them online. I cannot respond online anymore. I used to be able to navigate this 1997-ish looking web interface that was made for 640 by 480. That no longer exists. I can't even log into that. I have to physically mail them paper in order to deal with the chargeback. And I will deal with that just to make the point that I don't want to be nickeled and dimed. I will do business like somebody from the 80s if necessary. I will fax my chargeback dispute resolutions if I need to in order to avoid getting nickeled and dimed in garbage fees. When I refund a customer, I expect to pay a transaction fee. I do not expect to pay a percentage. I will pay a flat 30 cents, 60 cents, maybe even $1 to refund a customer. I understand it costs money to process it. I will not pay a percentage sliding rate commission scale bullshit fee to refund the customer, and I'm not going to pay this type of stuff. And I don't think this stuff is going to go away until customers are willing and open to saying, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this. I will use something with a slightly crappier interface to prevent from being nickeled and dimed, because this is clearly going in the direction of more nickel and diming, and it's not going to stop until small business owners get together and say enough is enough. And I'm hoping that the small business owners that watch this channel are willing to get together and say enough is enough. Yes, I am an angry man who yells at cloud. I'm proud to be the angry man that yells at cloud. That is why the shirt that I wear half the time when I do these videos is the color of the cloud that I am yelling at. I am proud to yell at the cloud, and I will continue to yell at the cloud until the cloud stops nickel and diming me. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.